Yeah.
Shut up, I'm talking here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hey, I'm Talking Here. I am your host, Steve Rizzo, and we have a really good show for you today. We will introduce this person in a few minutes, but I just want to let you know, as you all know, my regular viewers know that the show is brought to you by Conversations with Bob. And as many of you know, this is a book that I recently wrote, and it's getting wonderful reviews, and I thank you all for your support on this. And for those of you who don't know who Bob is God. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to know more, you have to buy the book. Trust me, it's worth it. That's all I have to say about that. And right now, I want to bring up my good friend and my two good friends, actually. First, my director, my producer, Bruce. Why don't you come up and say hello to the people?
Hello, people.
Oh, geez, Mr. Enthusiasm. That's what I should have called you.
Hey, I follow your instructions.
Yes, you do. How you doing, man?
Good. It did not rain today, so they predicted 82 degrees, and it was 63.
So, that's because of global warming. We're all doing that. Yeah, that's exactly why. I'm excited about the show because the title of the show is Humor and Spirituality, and when we bring our guest on, I'll explain how that came about, and it's quite interesting, actually. But right now, I'd like to bring up my good friend Debbie, my co-host.
Hello. I'll be really enthusiastic. I'll cover for you, Bruce.
There you go.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Make up for. He's enthusiastic. It's just that he's got that.
Oh, yes, he is. He got me good before the show.
Yeah, I know. Of course, exactly.
You want to talk about humor being? There we go.
Yeah, I know. It scared the hell out of you, which I thought was funny.
I have that Stephen Wright sense of humor.
Yes, Stephen Wright. Yeah, very funny. Yeah. He's very subtle, very funny. I'll tell you a funny story about him. Years ago, and he was pretty famous at the time because he did a couple of Carson appearances, and Carson loved him. As a matter of fact, Stephen Wright is one of the only first comics that ever appeared on Carson, where Carson brought him over to sit with him on the panel. He's only done that 3 times in his life. The other one was Drew Carey and someone else. But anyway, I was performing at the Funny Bone Comedy Club in Philadelphia, and it was sold out crowd because I used to sell out pretty big in those areas. And Stephen Wright comes in, and the owner of the club said, I had such a sarcastic ego back then. The owner of the club said, Stephen Wright's here. Do you mind if he goes up before you and does 10, 15 minutes? I said, no, not at all. So Stephen Wright comes up to me, introduces himself. He goes, I heard a lot about you. He goes, you don't have to let me go on before you. He goes, I'll go on after you. Don't worry. I said, Steve, you're not going to be able to follow me.
Oh, no.
So he goes, I'll give it a try. I said, okay, thank you. So I went up. I got a roaring standing ovation, and I had to come back for an encore to top it off.
Oh my God.
And as he's coming up, he's so funny. He passes me by and he goes, I guess I should have listened to you.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he did great. He did great because he had a name. He had a big name, so he did.
Yeah, and also it takes a certain different humor goes.
Well, yeah, I'm high energy. I'm crazy, and all of a sudden he's like droopy dog. Well, now I'm gonna do a couple of more jokes for you, and that's his pace.
You went from you to that.
Oh God, that's insane. But he did a great.
You know what? I'm talking here.
I love this show. It's getting better every time.
I'm so
excited for this show.
We were shooting this this party, and the guys hired the Spinners to come and perform, but it took them so long to set up that the opening act decided to go after the Spinners. So the Spinners did their performance, and then they changed out of their clothes to party with the great guests, and then the warm-up band comes on and says, "Hey, thank you very much for sticking around, and thanks for the Spinners for opening for us."
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. They can always say the Spinners
we all
open.
have our stories.
Yeah.
So, Deb, what do you think about the title of this show?
Oh, I love this. We've talked about this so much. The fact that I feel like a lot of people take life so seriously, and anybody else who has a sense of humor, they think that there's something wrong with it. I think it's the reversal. And
Yep.
I am so excited for our guest to come on and just give it to us straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
She
been
is.
on before, and I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
Well, it fits perfect too from the way that we met, and we'll bring her up in a minute. But I got the idea because you've heard me coin the phrase, and as a matter of fact, my first book was called "Becoming a Humor Being," and I believe everyone on this planet is born with a humor being within them.
mhm.
Unfortunately, most people go their entire lives never knowing they have this power, let alone how to tap into it. So
Yeah.
let me give you folks just a little refresher, and we'll bring Lisa on. Your humor being is of your higher nature, your higher self. It's the God part of you. It's the part of you that brings out the best in you when times get really tough. What your humor being can give you more than anything else is peace of mind and emotional stability. And that's all I'm going to have to say about that. And now we're going to bring up our guest,
Yay!
a very good friend of mine. I've known her for 43 years. Please welcome Lisa Perna.
Yay!
I will step out.
See you, Bruce. Thank you.
See you, Bruce.
Hey,
Hey, what up?
What?
43 years?
Yeah,
Man,
think about
that's
it.
a long time.
I
You
know.
must have been at the hospital when you were born.
Yeah, we'll go with that. That's why I like Debbie.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
think about it. We've really only met each other, I guess, what was it, 4 years ago for the first time in a long, long time. That's when I
Yes,
came
but
over
we
to.
knew
I
right,
did
but
the
we
video.
met each other at Rascals Comedy Club.
That's where we met because you were working
Yeah.
with the production company because they had live at Rascals, which was very popular in the tri-state area.
Oh,
It was
it
a
was very
TV show
popular.
every Thursday. And
Yep.
Rascals was considered one of the top two comedy clubs in the country,
Yep.
year in and
Yep.
year out. And there was
Yep.
standing room only going in there. And I performed there quite often. And that's where we met. That's where I met your husband, Rob, a good friend of
Yep.
mine. And because he was the producer, director, he was in charge of everything. And you worked with the crew. And it's funny when I look back at some of those TV episodes, it's
Mhm.
totally different than what I do today. But
I know, but we loved you. Well, okay, so but the truth is, so I worked with my husband, but that came later because I was a
Right.
waitress. I was
exactly.
a waitress. Oh yeah, I was
Right.
slinging drinks. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And
Right.
so when Steve was performing, we were all so happy. We were like, all the waitresses, because we would be laughing and we would be in the back as we were getting our drinks and we'd be doing his stuff. He'd be starting to say it. We were finishing it in the back and we're like laughing and the audience isn't even there. We're like, oh no, we know exactly where he's going. It was the best.
That's
It
awesome.
was the best.
Wow,
Mhm.
you guys go way back. That's
We
incredible.
do, but see, that's a beautiful thing about relationships is that sometimes God will put people into your life and you don't know for the whys, but there's always a why.
Yep.
Mhm.
There's always a why. It could be for a
Yes.
reason or it could be
Yes.
for a season, but there's always a reason.
Mm.
You don't
And-
meet people for no reason.
And that's why you're a perfect guest because we started out with the humor background. Your
Mhm.
life went into a direction that was unexpected to me, and my life went in a direction that was a little unexpected to you.
Yeah, well,
But
and
we were
also
both-
to Steve.
we were, we were both following God in our own way.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how we reconnected again. And by the way,
Mhm.
Lisa is the author of her new book. It's a wonderful book. It's called Touching the Father's Heart with Prayer. There it is.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And
Thank you.
and they can get that on Amazon, right, Lee?
They can get that on Amazon, but today only. If you Kindle, you can get my book for free.
Yeah.
My Kindle version for free today because
Right
today
on.
is 6 months. It's been 6 months since I actually published my book.
Wow, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. And I felt like I wanted to do something. I'm always about giving back. And I really felt like the Lord was saying, I want you to give it away. And I went, okay.
Let's give it. So
Okay.
Kindle version free today. So go
Yep.
get it, guys.
Just for today. Just for today. I might do
Well-
it again another day, but for
well,
today.
Well, Bob told me not to give my book away, so I'm not doing
I
it.
didn't. Well, we'll see. That's on you and Bob.
That's
I'll
between
tell-
you and Bob.
That's between you and Bob. But I'll tell you, Papa said, I want you to do that. And I said, okay, no problem. But that's the beautiful part is is thank you so much, Bob. So one of the things that I really love is he put seeds. God put seeds in us, and he put that book in you. He put that book in you, Stephen. He sent it to me. He's like, Lisa, I'm really glad that we connected. He was talking to my husband about doing some stuff. And he said, I'd really like for you to read my book. And I read his book and I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a good book. And it's such a great book because people are at different places with their spirituality.
Yeah.
And so the way that Steve kind of puts it out with humor, because he's funny. And so he puts it out with humor, but there are some really, really strong biblical. I can show you Bible verses that correspond to the things that Steve breaks down in such a very digestible way.
Well,
because the truth is the truth.
That's I'm so funny you say that, because I remember when you were reading it, you started reading parts of it while Rob and I were shooting in the studio. And every now and then you would look at me going, this is like reading part from the Bible. And I'm going, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great point that you made, Lisa, because after I read it, my review was any level of faithful or, on whatever spiritual path anyone is on can really appreciate this book, the Conversations with Bob, because it's in a storyline that we all can relate to.
Right. And I think that's the beautiful part of how God uses things, because the people that Steve can get to, I might not be able to get to, because his story is going to relate to certain people. My story is going to relate to certain people. Debbie, every single person has a story.
Yeah.
And every story is a good story to share.
Yeah.
Because when you go through adversity and you can find the laughter in it, and you can see that there is joy, because that's where I get my strength from, is my joy.
Yeah, but you always had that effervescence. You always had that. As a matter of fact, I remember I called you when we first met, Lady Optimism. You just had this way about you. Everything was, hi, how are you? Like, it's like life is great. It's you're the kind of a person that people in an elevator would get annoyed at, because it would be pouring, raining out. Everyone's soaking wet and pissed off that they're wet, and you would be the one on the elevator going, "Don't you just love the rain? Don't you?"
People glad I have to water my flowers today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the beautiful part about laughter, because if you really believe, like some of the movies that we can see out in, what are the things that we do when we're feeling down? We'll go and find a Mel Brooks movie. We'll go put on Blazing Saddles. We'll go and put on something that gives us that joy, that gives us that laughter, which shifts and changes atmospheres, because you can't be angry and laugh. You can't, it changes it. Laughter is it's basically, I call it's a breaker. It's a breaker anointing.
Yep.
And so there have been many, many times that I've prayed for people. And as I prayed for people, I start laughing. And I'm praying for serious stuff. And I'm like, please forgive me, I'm laughing. And I'm like, oh, but I'm laughing. But it's not my laughter. Yeah. It really is a laughter from inside of me. It's from God. It truly is from God. And there is something, and it's called the joy, which when the joy breaks out, I'll have to show you one time. I'll have to send you some videos of when joy breaks out. You will be like, these people are insane, but they can't help it. Do you ever get into like a fit of laughter and you can't control it?
Yeah.
And you're like, if you don't stop, I'm going to pee in my pants. That kind of laughter. Okay. Yeah. It's like that, but it's not because something was funny. It's because something springs up from inside of you. What it does is it shifts the entire atmosphere, because when there's laughter, there's joy, there's hope.
So when you're with someone one-on-one like that, and you start laughing, like
we were like,
no, I'm serious. Now we're laughing. What is some of the initial responses? Did they look at you like, what is wrong with this woman? Or do they actually say, why are you laughing? Or do some of them laugh with you?
No, most of the time when I break out into laughter, people start laughing with me.
It's contagious.
It's not only contagious, but okay. Do you remember do you remember that thing? It's like, I'm like rubber and you're like glue, and whatever I say is going to stick to you. Okay. Okay, so so what happens is when I start to giggle, when I start to laugh, it literally sticks to other people. And so what happens, because the spirit of the Lord, if the joy is from the spirit goes from person to person to person. The spirit will travel, and people will talk about spirits and all these things, but Holy Spirit, the spirit of the living God, is so filled with laughter and so consumed with laughter that it starts to touch people, and it's almost like popcorn. You can see it like in a meeting when the joy
What a
when the
great
joy is
analogy.
released.
Yeah.
It starts to pop like popcorn, and what happens is through that's where miracles happen. That's where people get delivered of serious like heavy stuff.
So do you think that's how they got the phrase laughter is contagious? Could that be a big part of it?
It could be. It
Because
definitely could be.
the spirit goes from one person to the next?
It does because it carries through Holy Spirit. And
Yeah.
we can also say that in the Bible it says that laughter is good medicine. It does the heart good.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't, laughter is great for the soul, right, Lynn? So when you start to laugh, when you start to bring and bubble up that joy, I always call it a bubbling up. It's like, it's like an explosion. It's almost like a volcano that erupts, and you can't help it. You can't help it. But fear has to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Sickness sometimes has to leave. Anger has to leave. All of these things, those oppressive things, they have to go. They have to.
Wow.
Because in the joy, there is no room for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you're saying that, because I can actually, that is the first idea I had, that there's something more to laughter than just laughing. And when I was doing stand-up, it was about more than halfway through. That's when I started realizing I needed to do something else with my life in a more profound way, but I didn't know what it was. But this is weird, but there would be thousands of people sometimes in the audience, and I'm making them laugh their asses off. But as I'm doing that, there's another part of me that started realizing that, oh man, I am making these people laugh. There's like 2,000 people in the audience, and some of the people in this audience are going through some really intense stuff right now. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're having financial difficulties. Maybe they or a loved one are inflicted with some kind of illness. But for that hour and a half that I'm on stage, their challenges, their problems, whatever they were, didn't own them, because they simply allowed themselves to take time out to laugh.
Yeah.
And but the initial, the efficiency and the proficiency by which they allow themselves to laugh comes from what I call your humor being. And that's when I started coining that phrase. It was weird, because I was actually doing my act, but there was another part of me over here thinking something else simultaneously. It's very weird.
No, but that's really, we have to understand that we have a body, we have a spirit, right? And we have a soul, our mind, will, and emotion. So we have these 3 different parts in us. But when we allow our spirit man, okay, to come forward, that's the God part of us. Now, some other people will take different spirits, because they can. People can do things. But when we have the spirit of the living God, this is the God who created you, the God who knows everything about you, how many hairs are on your head or not. But
you know, folks, I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waitresses.
Exactly. But when you start to realize about what happens, I remember there was a movie. It was called Legally Blonde. Okay, in Legally Blonde, she was a blonde. They thought she was stupid, but she was really, really smart. And she said, this woman did not kill her husband. And they said, well, how do you know? She goes, because she works out. And she says, and people who work out have endorphins, and endorphins cause happiness, and happy people don't kill people.
You got that down, girl.
Right? But there is such a truth to that. Happy people have better lives. Happy people do you want to be around happy people? You don't want to be around an Eeyore. Everybody wants to be around a Tigger, or they want to be around a Pooh. Nobody wants to hang out with Eeyore. Eeyore's like, dude, man, don't you smile?
Yep. And you know what it is. I think the big challenge with happiness and laughter and joy, because they're all they work together. They're really the same thing. Is that most people make the mistake that they say, well, I have to wait for something good to happen for me to be happy.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
There's always something that can elevate your spirit. There's always something that can bring you joy. There's always something that you're grateful for. There's always something that you could hold on to, even when life is throwing insurmountable odds your way. Always. But I think that's the challenge that people have. They can't get themselves to do it from that feeling victimized. And
can I share a short little Bible story?
Sure.
yeah,
Okay, so everybody knows who King David is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so King David, he was going to be king. He wasn't king yet. Okay, there was another king, King Saul, and King Saul was trying to kill David because he knew that David was going to be the next king. But what happened is David said, "I'm not going to kill him because I honor who he is." Okay, so what happened is King Saul dies. So now this is a big celebration. So they go back to this place called Ziklag, and they go to get their family and their children and their possessions, and it's been invaded and everything's gone. Like they come from a victory and they come to a place where everything has been stolen. Now the men are so mad at David, they're like plotting to kill him. They're plotting to kill him. They're like really upset. And so David, he has won battles and he has been God's right-hand person. And so he doesn't know what to do. And so what it says in the scriptures, it says he encouraged himself. What did he do? He started to think of all of the victories he had with God. He thought of all the times that God showed up. He thought about all the things that he was able to do. He got himself so charged up and so excited. And then he went to God. He didn't go to God when he was feeling defeated.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
He went when he felt built up. And
Yeah.
that's something that we have to understand when we're tackling subjects and problems, and we all have problems, but we can't come from a defeated mentality. We have to build ourselves up and say, well, if God did it for this person, he's going to do it for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's funny you said, because in the book Conversations with Bob, you just struck a chord. Bernie's complaining that his life isn't working and that Bob didn't answer his prayers. And he said, I did, but you have to meet me halfway. I could only do for you for what you're willing to do for yourself.
And if you don't see that there's a gift right in front of you because you're so blinded by negativity,
right,
you don't even realize that God is gifting you with things that you're just not seeing.
yes, when you're stuck in the negative zone,
Yeah.
it's very hard to get out. And sometimes, it's a discipline. It's a discipline that you have to create within yourself. And correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, the more you reinforce that discipline, the more it becomes a part of who you are, because the more you're going to have those aha moments like, holy shit, this really works.
Right. Well, and it's just like with the topic of this broadcast is called, Hey, I'm talking here.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes our spirit is trying to talk to us and our flesh is saying, but I can't. And sometimes we have to say to our flesh, shut up, you.
Yeah.
Shut up, you. Go sit back. Because my spirit is going to come forward. Because my spirit is one who's going to be connecting with God. Because our flesh is a liar.
I just heard Archie Bunker when you did that. Shut up, there, you.
Shut up, you. Right?
And the spirit is, I'm trying to say something to you, Archie. Well, shut up, there, me, that ding back there.
It made me laugh when Lisa was like, your flesh is a liar.
It is. Well, okay, when you are trying to work out, what's the first thing you have to do? You have to tell your flesh to shut up.
Yeah, shut your face.
But I'm tired and I don't want to work out. No, shut up. We're doing this.
Yeah.
And that's in everything. And that's also in your humor.
Wow.
That's also in your joy.
What a great
You
point.
have to say, wait a second. I don't care what you feel like. Yeah. I know that I'm here for a purpose and there's a reason. And so what am I going to start concentrating on? Sometimes it's about putting music on.
Yeah.
Music soothes the savage beast. That's what.
And that's joy. And that's,
oh my God. These are some great, oh my Bob. She's giving us some good one-liners, right? I'm serious.
So when you start to worship, now I'm a worshiper. I love to worship and to sing. But guess what? I can worship God just listening sometimes to love songs. You know that? You don't have to just listen to all kinds of Christian music.
Yeah.
You can listen to love songs and know that when you're speaking, like when they're talking about that person that they love, I'm talking about God. That's where my heart is. He knows everything about me. He created me. There's nothing that he doesn't worry about. And he loves me as much as I love myself. Now that can't be said for a lot of people.
Right.
There are people who can love you to a point, but they don't love you like they love yourself.
Yeah.
So when you start to get yourself into that, like you say, this negative zone, well, okay, how do I get out of the negative zone? Turn around. It's about, okay, I because you're in black. And it's like you have to get yourself back into the light, because in the light is in God's light.
Yep.
It's in the love of God. That's where the light, that's where the love, that's where the laughter comes. And so when we stop and say, hold on a second, I got to flip. Okay, how do I do that?
That's
well,
the
first
key.
of all,
Yes,
that's it, right? So when so like with your books, there's so many beautiful things that you talk about. And even when you're on the stage and you would try to help people, it's about stopping what you're doing because it ain't working. Mm-hmm. And it's about turning and starting to go back to the place where you got lost.
And that's the key. That is the key. And the thing is too, Lisa, is that, yeah, you have to turn it around. But the first step is you have to become aware of what you're doing to yourself. It's the recognition. As soon as you go, I'm doing it again. In that moment, that negative stuff, that self-curse talk, some people call it negative self-talk. I call it sort of curse talk, because you're casting a spell on your life.
Yeah.
You are.
And if there's anything that's going to keep you from achieving your goals, from being successful and happy, it's because of self-curse talk. If there's anything that's going to keep you from finding solutions to your problems, it's because of self-curse talk. We literally have to stop and think about what we're thinking throughout the course of a day, because those thoughts are creating our reality. And the sad truth is it doesn't have to be true. But if you believe that it's true, that's all that matters in your world, which gets you deeper into the negative zone. So not only are you in the zone, the doors close and you're having a hard time getting out. Awareness is the key that'll set you free. Can I hear a hallelujah? No.
Hallelujah.
I know. And Lisa, when you're talking about working out and everything, this literally just happened last week. The first step is, shut your flesh up and get to the gym. Just get there. Then once you're there, sometimes things get a little tough and you're in the process of doing this workout, blah, blah, blah. And I had someone say to me, Debbie, did you take a pre-workout drink or what? And I said, no, I had a little coffee, but the reality of it is it's the mindset. And in my mind, when I start feeling myself slacking or like, oh, this is getting too hard, I can't do another rep, I say, I'm here. I'm going to make the best of it. Let's go, Debbie. Let's go. And so, sometimes it is perceived as like beast mode, while I'm there, but it's here. It's what and Steve is so right. Being self-aware and being half the battle is understanding that you're doing that to yourself. And so many people just don't hear themselves, whether it's silently in their own head or the things that they speak out. And I really noticed myself shifting into a better place several years ago when I started being more self-aware about me. We're always ready to say, well, she doesn't do that or he doesn't do that. But what about you? What are you doing to help you? That's what we should be more concerned about and being more positive. And I loved, Lisa, when you said, build yourself up and then go to God in a place of praise. And, I need your guidance. I need your help, but I'm here, and I'm appreciative and it's awesome. I love it.
Well, if you look at, like, everybody knows the Our Father prayer. It's in every denomination, like as far as Christians.
Sure.
Right. But it says, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Okay. So what's the first thing that we're doing is we're praising him. We're recognizing him that he's holy. We're remembering him. We're coming in with thanks and with praises. That's how, let me ask you a question. If somebody were to call you and be like, oh, it's been such a terrible day and I really don't want to be here. And they start vomiting all over your phone.
Yeah.
You'd be like, dude, I got to go. Seriously. And that's the same thing. God is so patient and so kind with us. But when we've postured ourselves into a place of, no, No, I'm going to go before a king. You're not going to be bringing your garbage with you. When you go before a king, you have your best dress on, you have your manners down, you are ready. That's the same thing that we have to do. Is we have to remember that we're not slaves and servants. We're sons and daughters. We're his children.
Mm-hmm.
We can go to our Father anytime we want. Anytime we want. And this is the other thing, like what you were saying, Debbie, because I think that's so important. Like, it's in our mind. That's like, if people could understand that that's the greatest battle, because that's where the thoughts come in. And if you don't capture, it even says in the Bible, it says to capture those thoughts. Capture those thoughts, because the enemy is going to tell you you're tired. Your flesh is going to say you don't want to do this, and all of these things. And most of the stuff that came in because of stuff that happened to you as a child. Most.
Oh, absolutely. It's past experiences. We're unconsciously bringing past experiences into the present moment. This is why people have a hard time succeeding, because they're confronted with a challenge, and all of a sudden, without them realizing it, failures that took place 30 years ago are coming up telling them this isn't going to work. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not worthy enough. You should have just played it safe, and you shouldn't have put your time and energy into this, because dreams are for other people and you're not going to be one of them. And some
that's
people
Eeyore folks show.
Yeah.
What?
That's Eeyore for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And that a healthy mindset starts as soon as you start your day. Most people start their days in low moods at best. And the scary thing is that they're not even aware of what they're doing to themselves. It's become a habit, because as soon as they open up their eyes, they're still groggy. They start thinking of the grueling day they had the day before, all the fires that won't put out, the irate people they had to deal with. Then they start thinking of the crap that has to be done on that day. And they can't understand. They didn't even take the covers off and put their feet on the floor. And there's a difference between starting your day going, hey, I'm going to start this. This is going to be a good day. And, oh, God, here we go again. And most people start with, here we go again. And they're not even aware.
Well, I think when you start having an attitude of gratitude, I think that's when things start to change. Because like when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I do is I start talking to God. That's the first thing that I do. And I'm like, thank you. Good morning, Papa. Good morning, Jesus. And I start talking to him. And now we can all hear from God. We can all hear from God. It's nothing special. We were connected to him, but some people have lost, they've basically lost their satellite dish. So it's sometimes you just need to readjust it so that you hear. But there are so many times that, like, when I struggled a couple of years ago with, I didn't see myself as beautiful. I'm just being real. Okay. I didn't think I was ugly, but I didn't see myself as beautiful. And do you know that every morning that God would say to me, he would wake me, and when I would wake up, I would say, good morning, Papa. He would say, good morning, my beautiful daughter. He was always calling me beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. That's like, oh, that's so nice. But it wasn't my reality. Yeah. But he was doing something. He was planting seeds. And that's one of the things that God does, is he plants seeds of goodness, because he is a God who blesses. He doesn't curse. So people who think that God has cursed me, no. That's not who cursed me. It's because of the words that you use. It's because of, just like Steve was saying, blessings and curses come from our mouth. Okay, so if I'm speaking blessings, whose attention am I getting?
Yep.
And if I start speaking curses, whose attention am I getting?
Yep.
Because, the more that we're learning, the more that we're learning is that there is evil in the world. And we're learning that more and more and more and more. That evil is a real thing. It's not some made up fictional thing. It's true. Yeah. But we also know that we have a God who loves us and created us to be full of joy. We're not. Do you know how many times it says "do not worry" in the Bible?
How many?
A lot. I know you're waiting. If I had my book,
that came straight from God. A lot. Just say a lot. Say a lot. That's what I got to do. Say a lot.
I don't know. I actually researched it when I was writing my book. Because it's told throughout the Bible, do not worry, do not worry, do not worry. Do not worry about what you eat or what you drink or what you wear. That's number one. Like go ahead.
You know what's funny, though? You're
What?
just saying don't worry. And I think the song that most people hate is Don't
Don't worry,
Worry,
be happy.
Be Happy.
Yeah.
I hear people go, turn that shit off. I hate that song.
When you're in trouble, your face will frown. That will bring everybody down. So
You
don't
go, girl.
worry. Yeah.
Don't worry, be
So,
happy.
but see, that's the whole thing. When you worry, then see, I think one of my pastors once said, he says, are you a worrier or a warrior?
Ooh.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
I want
So,
to be a warrior, Lisa.
right. Exactly. And we want to be a warrior in every place.
Listen
We
to
want
her.
to be
She's like a little
right?
girl. I want to be a warrior. How do I be
I
a warrior?
do. Come on, I want to be a warrior. And that's like one of the things. Like, sometimes people will say, there's people who give like prophetic words, which is basically they can see things from God's perspective over me. And so people have said to me, "Oh, I see you like Wonder Woman." I've had that Wonder Woman statement because I am a warrior.
Yeah.
Like, I will fight for somebody. I will go into the prayer closet. I will go on my knees. I will pray for somebody until they get their breakthrough.
Yep.
But that's how we are all supposed to be. We can't let the situations that are in front of us stop us from achieving the things that God has said to us. Up here it is. Do not worry. 365 times, one for every day. Thank you so
and
much, Jennifer.
Fear not. Do not
Wow,
fear is
wow.
365 also.
And do not be afraid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do not be
Yep.
afraid. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You just said don't let the situations get you down. And I was talking about that on the Lynn and Scott show on Tuesday. I was on their show, by the way, which is a wonderful show. It's a wonderful podcast, and we were talking about that. But the thing is that for way too many people, I would think more than not, make life situations, more difficult than it has to be.
100%.
Wait, and it's because of that. It's the way they're perceiving the situation, the challenge. It's the consistent negative self-curse talk, the negative things that they're adding, their own story that they're adding to the situation. And there's a tendency for most human beings to make challenging situations, turn them into problems, and then eventually into emotional havoc. And we do it with the slightest things, not just with trying to achieve a goal and you hit with something and then you say, oh, this isn't going to work. We do it in line at a supermarket. We do it in traffic. It's the little things. Yeah, it's frustrating to be in traffic and you have to be somewhere. But when you start getting to the point where you're just ripping people apart and you can feel the tension going.
Road rage and people fight.
Exactly.
Hurt each other.
That's my point. How many times have you been in line at a supermarket? Go ahead.
But that's all fear. That's all fear-based.
Yes.
See, do you know what fear, the true meaning of fear? I've lost control.
Yep.
When you lose control, you become afraid. Bottom line.
Fear is the leader of the destroyer of the spirits.
That's
Every
right.
negative emotions comes from fear.
That's right. Everything
Anger,
comes from fear. And
overwhelm.
every sin is fear-based. Every single one. But now the other thing too is like when we're going through our situations in life, okay, we need to just kind of take a moment and pause and say, okay, wait a second. Am I going through this alone? See, we're not orphans. See, so many people think that they do things alone, but we don't see the angels. Do you know that there's angels? There are angels all over the place. They help us. But do you know how many people, every single person has an angel. They are given one at birth. So your angel.
I have a few of them.
No, I know. And some people have more.
Everyone has at least one guardian angel.
Yep. Okay, but this is the thing. So if you don't tell your angel, if you're not saying I'm not saying pray to angels. I'm not saying that. So we'll just knock that out.
Yeah, get that out right now.
Because that's not what I do. However, we can say to our angels, okay, can you go out and can you do and help me to do everything that God's created me to do? That's it. Can you work with me and help me to do everything that God created me to do? Because angels are never going to do outside of God's will. Sorry, ain't going to happen. I'm sorry I'm saying ain't. But it's just not going to happen. It's just not. But if we start to partner, we are supernatural beings, guys. We keep acting like we're the losers. We're not. We're the victors. We win. Yeah, seriously. Like, we win. I've read the end of the Bible. we win. We win.
That's it. Damn it, I'm writing another book right now.
I'm just saying, like, and so many people have this victim mentality, and we're victors.
They're
You're not a
conditioned to it.
victim.
They're conditioned to it.
That's right.
It's part of what society, the news, everything that you listen to. And
Well, that's
like I said, you're not aware what you're doing to yourself, and that
right.
goes on to your family, it goes on to your friends. It just it's the droopy dogs, and well,
It
they just know something horrible is gonna happen.
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
it's a
And
shame.
well, okay, so what we can do, okay, we've talked about like how do we start to shift the atmosphere, because I want to go back to the humor, because the humor is so important. It really is. It's so important. And it's like, okay, so sometimes we have to just unplug. We have to just unplug. It's just unplug from the TV, unplug from life, unplug, and just do something that makes you happy, that brings you joy. Sometimes it's just going to a park and walking. Sometimes it's going to the beach. Sometimes it's just going to the boardwalk and watching people walking by. That alone is a show. I'm just saying.
entertainment.
You know, and that's the thing. Watching a kid on a merry-go-round, you know, or watching a movie where you can see see something good or something funny, or even listening. You know, I had this time where I was going through this really, really hard time, and I couldn't break it. And so the Lord told me, I started to hear music in my head, because that's one of the ways that God talks to me, is through music. So I started hearing like music from the 70s, like stuff that like when I was growing up. And I started to hear this music, and there was like a calling for me to listen to the music of the 70s. So I started listening to the music of the 70s, and I started feeling better. I was like, why do I feel better listening to music from the 70s? Do you know that the music in the 70s was purposely written to help people break from the trauma of the Vietnam War?
Oh, wow. So the like higher frequency tones.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, it wasn't even, I don't know if they changed it, because they changed the frequency of music back during the days of Hitler. You can go and research that.
Well,
yeah, I know all about that. It's crazy. I can't believe it.
Speaking of Hitler, if you read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning,
Yes, I have.
which is an incredible book,
Yeah.
there's almost a whole pages of it where he has this quote, and I'm paraphrasing it: everything can be taken from a man but one thing, his attitude, the one right to choose his own way regardless of their circumstances.
Yeah.
And he talks about one of the things that helped him to survive, even though he knew his wife and daughter were murdered, and he was in Auschwitz, was that every day a group, not all of them, but a huge group, would promise to create a little satirical play at the end of the day with a lot of humor to make fun of the situation that they were in. And what he said at the end of it, and he said, the reason why we did this is because sometimes nourishment of the soul was more important than nourishment of the body.
Yeah.
And the reason why he used that quote was because most people would pass on their daily rations to be a part of this satirical play that they did, because nourishment of the soul meant more to them. It helped them to persevere through the crap that they were dealing with 24/7.
And the people who didn't make it, that passed away,
are
the ones who, well, they gave up. They just were negative. I'm here. I'm never going to get out.
Yep.
You know.
Well, see, and that's how the enemy gets us. That's how our negative emotions, our negative thoughts, that's how we become the victims. But what's really cool is that if you think about all of the Jews, they were just that. They were Jews. They knew the Torah. They knew the law. Do you know that most of the laws that were written, most of the things that they learned and how to overcome, because the Jews were overcomers.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that through the Bible, but it was because of their faith in God. It's because God took them through there, and they knew that laughter does the body good, because laughter that does the body good, that was in Proverbs. That was in the Bible. That was in the Tanakh. Like they know the Old Testament. They know it. And so they were trying to pull and to do things, because for centuries and centuries, Jews have gone into captivity, and then they were released, and then they got into captivity and they got released. But the one consistent thing is God was with them. And so all they had to do was tap into God again in order to get their strength, to get their encouragement, to get their hope, to get their faith. Because if you have no hope, you have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
When people lose their hope, they're done. That's
Right.
it.
That's yes. Wow.
That's it.
When you lose hope, you've lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it was weird too, because I just had a quick flashback, because yesterday I was not in a good mood at all.
You need to call me on those dates, Steve.
It was a
Just saying.
low mood. It wasn't that I was in a bad mood. I was in a low mood.
Yeah.
Okay. And I felt it going. And I didn't answer any phone calls, nothing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I took out my laptop. I'm in bed. I'm under the covers. And I just put on YouTube, and I started watching the Seinfeld show bloopers.
Right.
And
Oh, there you go.
Everybody Loves Raymond bloopers, and the Dean Martin comedy roasts. And I was actually
Crying.
in tears, hysterical. I mean, just hysterical. And I just, and you know, because of what I do, and because of what you do and what we do here, Debbie, we're more aware of it than most people, because this is what we talk about. And the awareness hit me with such intensity when it was all over and I finally was tired to go to sleep, that I got pretty emotional on how something so simple could shift your thought process, the way that you feel, your belief, and your attitude. But the problem is that most people are so stubborn and so used to, they'd rather hang on to the anger or the depression or the fear, whatever it is, because that's what they're used to.
Well, they don't know how to survive.
Excuse me?
See, sometimes like depression has become so close to you that it's become like a friend.
Yeah.
And what would you do without your friend?
Exactly.
How would I? Because I've
It could always depend on my friend.
Right. Because sometimes people will think that their depression or their tendency to pull away from people, that's their protector. It really is. Because when I've like ministered to people, I've ministered to women who have been in abusive situations or who have abandonment issues or have like, some kind of abuse. And so it's like they don't know how to break free from it, but it's really about letting go. It's about letting go, because if you let go of everything, then you don't need to have a protector. So some people don't understand. Everybody thinks that, well, forgiveness, I can't forgive them. I can't forgive them. But forgiveness is never for the other people.
Right.
Forgiveness is always for you. It's always for you. And so if you are in a place of bitterness, because that's what happens, unforgiveness brings bitterness, and bitterness takes your joy. And so if you think about, what does joy bring you? What does laughter bring? It brings you endorphins. Well, what does endorphins do? Endorphins are good for your body. It's good for your body.
Yeah.
Because people who are in depressing situations, like there are people, I know a lot of people, and this is not a statistic, but I do know a lot of people who've gone through really, really bad traumas. And after they get through the traumas, they wind up getting cancer. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Because
it makes the body sick.
There's definitely a correlation there.
Because their
Stresses
frequency,
the immune system.
And even I'm even going to go as far as saying that even off-color humor works. I'll give you an example.
Humor works.
When my brother Michael decided that hospice was coming to the home before he passed away, it was like 4 days before he passed away. And I saw him every day. I'd walk into the house, and he had such a sick sense of humor. But I got to tell you this, because we laughed so hard. I walk into the house, and hospice was just there, and they left. And I know he only has a couple of days left. And I sat down, and I put my arm around him. I said, "Hey, Mike, how you doing, man?" He goes, "Well, Steve, I'm dying. How are you doing?" So I looked at him, and I said, "Well, apparently I'm doing a hell of a lot better than you are." And we were in tears, hysterical laughing. It just hit us and it really gave him a glow. There was a glow about him, because he came to the place where it was his time, and he knew it. You know what I mean? And I think that jolt of laughter, and it lasted a while. We were like high-fiving each other, and he was hugging me, telling me that he loved me, and we were laughing that hard. And I'll never forget that until the day I leave this planet. And that's another thing that reinforced the power, the gift of laughter, because he knew where he was going. He was meeting his maker, and he was at peace with it. He did whatever he could. He lived he did more than survive. He thrived, and he knew that. And I think that was the final thing that when he left, I held on to. I even said that story in the eulogy. That I gave.
Well, he was
when I gave his eulogy, I roasted him.
Yes. And what he gave you that day with laughter was also a gift he left you with. Who could have very well be doing that purposely for you, Steve.
Yeah. That's
it, Debbie. That's what I got. Yeah.
Do we have time? This is going long, but do we have time to show the Word According to Bob video?
Well, you're the boss.
I know.
For bossy pants.
It's your broadcast. I think you can go as long as you want, Steve. Nobody says you have to end it.
Yeah.
Well, it's your broadcast. Isn't the Word According to Bob, isn't that Lisa's husband produced that?
Yes.
So let's show it.
It's a Rob Perna production. And
so we're going
to play this, folks. This is a perfect example on how humor is connected to spirit.
And all that stuff.
Yeah. Years ago, I attended the wake and funeral services of a dear friend. Now, I've been to many wakes and funeral services throughout the course of my life, but there was something really special about this one in particular. Awareness came over me that caused me to view the losses in my life from a totally different perspective. When the funeral service was over, a group of us met at a relative's house. Now, as you can imagine, there were still people consoling one another. But from across the room, I overheard someone telling a story about my friend, and I noticed that a few people were laughing along with it. And then someone else joined in on the conversation and told a story about my friend's love for football. And before long, everyone was in this room laughing and reminiscing about the good times they had. And in the midst of all of this laughter, I had a strange, uplifting, powerful feeling come over me. And this feeling can best be described as what I now call a smile from within. I realized I was no longer grieving over my friend. My energy level immediately shifted and I was temporarily delivered from my pain. And it wasn't just me. We all felt that special connection to him in that moment. In fact, his wife even said, I miss him and I always will, but right now I feel as if a part of him is with us and always will be. And then her brother jumped in and said, yeah, I know what you mean. It's as if he's saying to all of us, it's okay, I'm okay. Everything is as it should be, and I will always be with you. At that given moment, my friend's death was not the point of focus. The only thing that mattered to all of us was the powerful feeling we were all experiencing. And we were all celebrating and embracing our spirit of love for him. And I believe it was our ability to laugh and reminisce about the good times that ignited that powerful sense of spirit. In such a very short time, our humor beings took us from a place of pain and uncertainty to a place of inner peace and hope. Laughter made us realize that throughout our journey, there really are no goodbyes, only good memories. The spirit moves on, and we all move on in turn in life. We all felt that smile from within that day. And I believe laughter derives from the spirit. It has a magical way of breaking down barriers and constantly reminds us that somehow, some way, we are all connected and never alone in our times of grief. Suffering may be unavoidable, but just plain suffering can be avoided. Finding the laughter in between the tough times is essential to living a happier, healthier life. And that, my friends, is the word according to Bob.
Debbie's like, I'm going to read that again. Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to read that again.
A Humor Being is chapter 8.
And do you know what 8 is?
8 is infinity.
Well, actually, 8 is new beginnings.
New beginnings. And it says laughter is the pit stop in the rat race of life, and that it gives you enough emotional fuel and repairs to get back in the race again. That was by Steve Rizzo.
Come on.
I'm just saying.
That was from
Come
Bob.
on. Come
Says
on.
Steve Rizzo. Come
And that
on,
was-
give it to me now. Come on.
That
Let's
was
go.
produced and directed by Mr. Rob Perna, who did a scrupulous job on
That's
the-
talent right there.
He
Very
does some good things.
Yeah,
He does some good things. He does.
yeah, he married you.
give him some credit. Give him some credit. That's good.
No, and I think that's such a beautiful thing, because how many, especially like if you've ever been to an Irish wake, all they do is they drink and laugh.
Yeah, he
Like-
lived, he died. Now it's Miller time. Yeah,
Exactly. You know, it's like, hey, come on, let's have another drink. Because when now I will say that that I was able to I was able to actually watch somebody who transitioned from this earth into heaven. I got to see that. And actually today is her birthday, the woman who passed. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's really fun is it's not what we think it is. It's so much more. It's so much more. It's like there's so much sadness and there's so much, but people in heaven are laughing and they're dancing and there's joy. There's no sadness. There's no fear. There's nothing that takes away their hope. They're free. They're free. They're free from their flesh. They're free from anything that tries to weigh them down.
Yeah.
And when we think about that we can actually live that way here, but it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a choice.
it is, and yeah, I think I just feel blessed enough that I was able to experience things like that throughout my life. You know, like the story I just told with the Word According to Bob, with my brother. You know, it's when you experience it that you can't deny it.
Yeah.
You can't deny it. It's impossible, and it just reinforces who you are and what life is really about. It's not as tragic as we all think it is. It's
but what I enjoy also, you, Steve, and Lisa are so transparent and genuine in the way of saying we are all human beings and we go through rough times. And Lisa, when you've said a couple of times on here, people could look at you and think, she has life by the tail. She's fine. It's easy for her to be happy. But no, you just appear that way. We all have our struggles or whatever. And so when you say those things, but then you still always choose to flip and to be the positive and to continue to talk to God in the way that you do, Papa, as you say, that's a beautiful testament, because you live that life. You're not just telling people to do it. You're living that life. And that's what we see from you with that bright light that you have. That's what it is.
That's exactly what she has. It's exactly, and it is a choice. And the more you live that lifestyle, the more those type of choices come into play. It's like last night. I know it sounds trivial, but last night I was really in a low mood, and I became very aware, and I was aware for a part of the day, but it was at one point where the awareness said, I said, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Enough. And I knew what I had to do. I didn't even think. I intuitively took up my laptop and started watching funny things. And
whatever it takes, right?
Exactly. And it just turned things around. Sometimes
it broke the atmosphere.
Excuse me?
It broke the atmosphere.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a matter of talking to friends. Which is, Debbie, you and I had a conversation. What was it, the day before yesterday?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
It's just a matter of picking up the phone, and I need you to listen, is what you were saying.
Yeah.
And it's
whatever it takes to help you pull, when you're self-aware enough to know you're in that low mood.
Yes.
Or you're trying to figure out which step you're going to take, and you want to bounce it off of someone. Yeah, prayer, 100%. But God also gave us all these amazing people that are in our lives.
Exactly.
That we can actually physically and see and talk to. So that's what we're doing right here. If we can be a resource to help people become more self-aware, to catch themselves in the moment when they start feeling low. And how many people don't know what bring them joy? I've asked people over the last couple of years, what brings you joy? And it's amazing to me how many people can't answer and have to really think about it. So, we're just more get into a relationship with ourselves a little bit more and find out what we like, and that way, if it's music and you're feeling, music is a picker upper if it's the
Oh,
right
yeah.
kind of music,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and maybe you need to put on a music, something like
Mhm.
that. Jennifer Gittimer says, God talks to me through music too. This is Jennifer responding to you, Lisa.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes even changing the song without me changing it to something with lyrics that send a message. It's insane.
Yep. Yep. And that's the part. God is he's very social. God is not a God who sits on a throne and goes, you're going to live and you're going to die. That's not
Yeah.
who he is. He
Right.
came for relationship. That's why he sent his son. He sent Jesus so that we could have relationship with him. That's, if you really think about it, and everything that Jesus did was, he was just representing his father. He did everything. But when we're looking to try to change things, and we're trying to say, okay, how do I want to live my life? How do I want to live my life? What kind of a legacy am I trying to live?
Mhm.
What am I going to leave behind to my children? Because when things get tough, they get tough. Because, there are a lot of people who might not want to believe in God. They want to believe in something else. But when push comes to shove, when the rubber meets the road, people have to come to that point that they have to know that there really is a God who's not mad at them. That's one of the things that I try to tell people, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, there's going to come a point where he's going to reveal himself. And I just want you to know that he's not mad at you.
Mhm.
He's not mad at you. He doesn't hate you. God does not have hate. It's not who he is. In fact, it says, there's a scripture, and it says that he who is in heaven sits and laughs. He
Wow.
sits
That's
and
me.
he laughs. Exactly. But we carry that laughter, that joy. We carry, anytime that it bubbles up like that, that's the Spirit of God. He
Yeah.
sits in the heavens and laughs.
And we were talking
So
about
why can't
angels.
we?
Let's
We were
laugh.
talking about we were talking about angels too, and aren't we each other's angels throughout life?
Okay, we can.
Aren't we?
Well,
Aren't we there for people?
yes.
And I guess what I'm saying is, one of the things that could really help you to lift your spirit is to do something nice for someone.
Mm,
When you're in a
Yes.
bad mood, if you do something nice for someone,
I
you're
agree with that.
becoming that person's angel, and
Yeah.
you're lifting their spirits.
Or you're becoming the hands and feet of God,
Yes,
because
yeah,
God wants to do nice things for people.
exactly. It's like he's utilizing you to do this,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be anything. It doesn't have to be anything big.
Yeah.
You
Buy
know,
somebody a
buy
cup of
somebody-
coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Tell someone how
Or
great they look. Give somebody a compliment.
if you notice someone looks sad, go say
Mhm.
hello.
Mhm.
I hope that your day gets better. You look sad.
Right.
Something. It doesn't even have to be, it can just be a gesture. I think.
Yeah, exactly. Years ago, during the Gulf War, I was at Dallas Fort Worth Airport. I just remembered this, and there were 3 Marines at the gate area, and I was
Mhm.
talking to them, because my brother's in the Marines. I'm having a conversation with them, and
Mhm.
they're going to New York on leave for 2 weeks, and then they're being shipped to Iraq. And the
Mhm.
flight attendant, the ticket agent, heard their story and went up to them and said, "Guys, I just want you to know that I tried to get the 3 of you an upgrade to first class, but all the seats were taken. And I
Mhm.
wish I could have helped you." And they said, "Man, we didn't even expect it, but thank you for even considering it."
Yeah.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So when I found that out, when I heard her say that, I was giving up my first class seat, and I asked for 2 volunteers. I went around the whole gate area asking.
Wow.
I got 2 other people to do it.
Nice.
You got this. I'll remember this till the day I leave this planet. So you should have seen the look on these 3 Marines' faces when the 3 of us asked them to please take our seats. We were
Aw.
going to sit and coach. But
Mhm.
you should have seen the look on our faces when we got off the plane, and all 3 Marines was standing at attention saluting us.
Oh my gosh. That is
I will never forget that till the day. However, had I known I was going to sit and coach in the middle seat, I never would have done it.
You're like, I don't know about this.
I
coach
don't know
thing."
about this stuff.
Oh
and
my gosh, that's good.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like, look, God created, he did not create just Adam. He created Adam and Eve because he said it's not good for us to be alone.
Yeah.
He created us to have relationship. He wants us to have many people in our life. And that's the thing, like when we get so lucky and so blessed to have people who see the same things that we see, who laugh at the same jokes, who dance to the same crazy music, that's when we know that God has put people together. Because I have people who I actually met through the internet. Some of my best friends I met on Facebook. Like, seriously. Like, I met them on Facebook. They're my best friends. They're my best, some of them. And it's only because God's like, your tribe is in here, but I'm going to connect you with your tribe.
I met Debbie on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
See,
were
there we go.
It was a podcast. It was in the Academy podcast.
The Academy, yeah.
See? But that's how God does things. So he sends us. So the biggest thing that we have to remember is that when we feel terrible, like you said, Steve, what our nature is to cocoon, is to go and to be by ourselves. But doing that is really detrimental to us because we were created to be social creatures.
Yes.
In fact, if a child isn't held as a baby, they will die.
Yeah.
They will die.
Yeah, they need that nurturing.
They have to have that nurturing and that love. They have to have that physical contact. So when we feel our worst, get out, go for a walk, go and do something. Don't go into your room.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You have to change.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you have to change, and if you don't, you won't, and there are consequences.
He's gonna start. I thought it was going to be like a Dr. Seuss quote there for a second.
All of a sudden,
You don't do it if you
I hate
do
green eggs, damn.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Oh, the places
you'll go.
James,
Right?
look what I started. Knocking it off.
Well,
Let's
yeah,
read
we
a
got to
couple-
end this with a good laugh, right?
We do.
Come on now.
We do.
Debbie, let's read a couple of the comments, and then we'll sign off here because.
Okay.
By the way, Lisa,
You
thank
never
you so much
know.
for being a guest.
Pat
Thank
Lewis
you.
says, you never know when you're meeting someone who will change your life. Isn't that
That's right.
the truth?
Come
Yeah.
on.
Thank you, Pat.
That is so true.
You can go to the next one now, Bruce.
I don't know. Soldier.
There's no way that was 43 years ago.
There is no way that was 43 years ago.
I know.
Bob Donnell, congrats on the 6 months for your
That's
book.
to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Hello, beautiful friends. Lynn Serrano.
Oh,
Laurie, I don't know which name to call her. Justine Ficken Ferrero. Hello,
I know her.
hello, Laurie.
Known her for a long. She's a
Linda
very good friend.
Jones, good evening. And she's tuning in from YouTube.
mhm.
Lynn says it's an awesome book. Everything about the book is fantastic. I
Well,
love
there
it.
you go.
Yeah. Good peeps right here, says Sandy Archer. We love you too, Sandy. Linda Jones, we get so much joy from Mama Lisa, or only she can squirrel. Oh, I need to know. What's the squirrel?
Okay, that's when you start talking about something, and then all of
Oh.
a sudden you kind of go off that way.
Yeah. Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Take a sharp left, but you always come back, Lisa. You
I
remember
do.
where you left off. That's good. Nicole Young, there is healing and laughter. That's why it's so important what we watch and what we listen to. Amen to
Amen.
that, Nicole.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely. Shelley,
Oh,
don't
Shelley,
Oh.
listening and lurking. I have some of my kids on here.
Oh, this is why Nicole says this is why kids bounce back from cancer faster than adults. Kids are so joyful and free spirits. Oh,
Yep.
yeah. That
Yep.
I've never really thought of it like
Yeah,
that.
not old enough to learn about fear.
Scott Jones, incredible duo of Steve and Debbie. Much love and respect. Hello, Scott. And then
And Scott,
adding Lisa to the mix is like chocolate chips to the batter. I love it.
Woohoo!
Nicole Young, hello, Scott and Lynn. Oh, now our people are saying hi to the people tuning in. I love when that happens.
I do.
don't get carried away, everyone. All right.
There you go, Brother Rizzo.
Preach,
Preach,
Rizzo.
Brother Rizzo. Eric Flanoy, he is great.
Eric thinks I should become a preacher.
Linda
should.
Jones,
I told
worship
you.
can bring on the joy.
Yep.
Bring it
Truth.
on.
Truth.
Truth there.
Truth.
All right, Steve, we got to give us something, a little bit or something. Maybe not.
What?
You already are funny trying to explain yourself. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Like, I don't know where we're going with this, but
I'm not gonna end with. You always do that.
I
You
throw
always
you
put
now.
me on the spot. You know what you did? I spoke for I zoomed for a high school.
Yeah.
It was a Zoom thing, and I was a keynote speaker. And right after it, she starts, do this, be funny, do that impression,
Be
do
funny.
this.
Be funny.
And I didn't know, he didn't tell me, because I'm like, would you do this? I want to zoom you in for the kids to
Right.
meet you and, talk to them
That
about
Hazel.
stuff. And he was so upset, and he was so sick. He didn't tell me he was sick. He goes, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then like later that day, I got done at the school. It was at Ohio University. It was in their auditorium. It was, college kids.
Mhm.
And I came home and I'm like, thank you so much. Everyone loved you. And he's like,
Right.
I'm so sick. I didn't want to tell you. Well, and so that's the mindset too. And he's so
Mhm.
loyal. And so he said he would do it, and he did it. And anyway, that was the whole thing. But I do always put you on the spot. So with you knowing that, why don't you have something ready?
Yeah,
See, it's
seriously.
funny
You're
that
funny.
Pat
Where's your
Hazel-
funny?
Yeah, where's
It's
your
funny
funny?
that Pat
Bring it.
Hazel would tell me, Steve, be funny. He's following you because he's a comedian too, and he's like, he hates that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Come
Pat-
on,
Pat-
comedian.
Yeah.
Like, they
Comedian
do
out.
it all the time. You're a comedian, make me laugh. You're an
Make me laugh.
accountant, do my taxes. Leave me
Well,
alone.
also Steve sings.
What?
I
Steve
will tell you,
sings.
Steve sings. Yeah.
Well, maybe you can sing us a little tune.
He
to
does.
teach
I'm
us
not-
how to
Dude, we
I'm
used
not
to
singing.
love it.
I'm not
We used to
singing.
love it because
Hey,
he would
I have a
sing.
podcast we're doing, okay? I'm not singing, and I'm not going to be funny. Leave me alone.
Lisa, I love it. It's the Lisa and Debbie
Lisa,
show right
you're
now.
That's
no
right.
longer on the show anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
No, this has been so fun, and I think that even though like it's silliness right now, that's how we're supposed to go through life, to
Yeah.
find the silly, just to
Mhm.
find
I
the
know.
silly.
Find
And
the
that's why I
humor.
love why I love my grandkids. When I'm with them,
Yeah.
I get on their level. I actually do. I know I can get on a 6-year-old's level. I just get on the floor, and it's just so much fun to let go like that. It really is.
Mhm. And
That's
kids
so
can bring it out of you too.
Oh yeah.
When you're with kids and they're being silly or whatever, it just, you can get right back into that groove. It's just fun to do.
I get yelled at from my own son. I
I'm
mean,
sure.
he tells me to grow up.
I'm sure.
But
Grow
see,
up.
we're supposed to be like children. That's
Yeah.
how we're supposed to.
Well, then
that's
I'm
really
doing the
how
right
we're
thing.
supposed to. Yes, because you know what? Can I just say something about kids? The kids believe everything. Kids believe everything, good or bad. Okay, but when you start to see God as a child, it changes things for you.
Yeah.
Some people need to start seeing Him from a child's perspective.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, I love the fact that you said, and I know we have to go, but when you were telling us and everyone, God does not hate.
He
All your
doesn't.
mistakes and all of your, flaws,
Mhm.
He's not coming to you saying, you're this, you're that. He created us. He
That's
doesn't
right.
hate you. And
That's
he's
right.
the only one who could ever love you regardless.
That's right. It's unconditional.
There you
It's
go.
unconditional, and He delights in us.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
delights in us.
Yeah.
Like
Lisa,
literally.
what? Please tell the people
Sure.
where they can get your book, and tell them that it's the 6
Tell
month
the
anniversary
people.
and all that.
Tell the people.
Tell the people where they can
Tell
get
the
the book.
people. The people can go to my website, which is touchedbyprayer.com.
Yeah.
How about that? And you can also, I do a broadcast Monday through Friday.
You know what? I
Which
haven't
Steve
got
has been
out.
on.
I listened to you for such a long time, and somehow it's not popping. I gotta go. You know what? That reminds me. I'm gonna go on there and try to find out why
Well,
I'm not
I-
getting notified.
Well, I can tell you why.
Why?
Well, because sometimes YouTube doesn't like me, because sometimes they say things that they might not like.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah,
you know.
YouTube has sent the charge sometimes.
Well, I'm going to go back in and try to redo it so I get
Yeah.
notified, because when I'm not notified, I just forget,
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, is that when God told me to start doing these morning broadcasts, I told Him no like 3 times. And at first I was just doing, I was naughty. I got kicked off of YouTube.
She got kicked right straight out of it.
I might have talked about an election or something like that. I'm just saying. Anyway, so I'm just saying. But what happened is when God told me to do this, you know, when I do my broadcast, it's not like listening to, no offense to Billy Graham, but it's not like listening to Billy Graham. I mean, I have sacred cows that I kick, and I played like Marvin the Martian. Steve's been on, and we have fun because church is not supposed to be boring.
Yeah.
People make it boring. But that's not my personality. So
No.
I try to bring fun and laughter because if you can't kick a sacred cow every now and then, who can you kick? Just saying.
Eric Flannery.
Great,
Eric wants me to
Lisa.
sing a song like
I love
Archie
you.
Bunker.
There you go. There you go.
And Pat Hazel says, where was Pat Hazel? Oh yeah, yeah.
Rizzo putting you
in the center of humor and
There you go.
spirituality. Thank
There
you,
you
Pat. I
go.
love you, my friend.
He's a great guy.
And my book is on its way to you, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
What?
That you can sing which song were we singing earlier? And
Debbie,
Eric is saying sing it like
Debbie,
Archie
you know,
Bunker.
I thank God that you're not my manager. That's all I'm saying. Because you probably would have been fired a long time ago. Well, do this and do that.
Yeah, like,
what were we singing, Lisa? We were singing the happy song.
yeah, don't worry, be happy.
No, sing
Yeah.
Don't Worry, Be Happy like
Don't
Archie
worry, be
Bunker.
happy.
Don't worry, dear. Be happy, meathead. What a crock of shit that is.
And it stays in your head forever.
Read it. How can I be happy when the meal isn't here yet? Oh, get it right away. Don't worry. Be happy, Archie.
He calls me Edith sometimes. I love it.
Oh, that's so
I don't
funny.
know. I think we need to just get the da-na-na-na-na.
Yeah. Lisa, I love you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank
Debbie,
you for
I'll talk
having
to you.
me.
Stay on.
Yeah, we'll say
Thank you.
in the green room.
Thank you,
In the green
people.
room.
Thank you for your
With men.
comments. Love you all.
Bye-bye.